confusion. At that time, I didn't know what a private prison was, but I wasn't the only one. Sure enough, someone asked what these prisons were and what any of this had to do with us. We were told that these prisons were built by privately owned companies who would receive funding from the government based on the number of inmates. The more inmates, the more money the government would pay these prisons. It also made it clear to us that since these prisons were privately owned, as they became publicly traded, we would be able to buy shares. Most of us were taken back by this. Again, a couple of people asked what this had to do with us. At this point, my industry colleagues who had first opened the meeting took the floor again and answered our questions. He told us that since our employees had become silent investors in the prison business, it was now in their interest to make sure that these prisons remain filled.
Okay, stop there. Why was it necessary for them to be silent investors? Because if there's nothing wrong with this, you would let everybody know, right? You didn't know that Death Row, you didn't know that Def Jam, you didn't know that Rockefeller Records, you didn't know that Sony, you didn't know that Universal Records, you didn't know that Rap-A-Lot and all these things where you got the black face on it but really are owned by Jewish people. You never knew that they were owning prisons. You know why? Because they were silent investors. Why was it necessary for them to be silent investors in prisons? You're going to find out.
Our job would be to help make this happen by marketing music which promotes criminal behavior, rap being the music of choice. He assured us that this would be a great situation for us to become rap music for us because rap music was becoming an increasingly profitable market for our companies. And as an employee, we also be able to buy personal stocks in these prisons. Immediately, silence came over the room. You could have heard a pin drop. I remember looking around to make sure I wasn't dreaming and saw half of the people would drop jaws. My daze was interrupted when someone shouted, "Is this a joke?" At this point, things became chaotic. Two of the men who were part of the unfamiliar group grabbed the man who shouted out and attempted to remove him from the house. A few of us, myself included, tried to intervene. One of them pulled out a gun and we all were backed off. They separated us from the crowd and all four of us were escorted outside. My industry colleague who had opened the meeting earlier hurried out to meet us and reminded us that we signed an agreement and would suffer the consequences of speaking about this publicly or even with those who attended the meeting. I asked him why he was involved with something this corrupt, and he replied, "It is bigger than the music business and nothing we want to challenge without risking consequences."
Listen to that. It's bigger than the music industry. Now you understand what I'm saying? I hope it's sinking in. You're just seeing right here what happened to our people. This meeting took place in 1991. And if anybody on here that's old enough to know, prior to that, rap music was completely different than it is right now. The greatest rapper at that time was Rakim. Never cussed in his rhyme. Never promoted drugs or illicit things. KRS-One, Boogie Down Productions. None of these people ever promoted any of these things. Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul, Poor Righteous Teachers. None of these people promoted this stuff. Public Enemy. But then all of a sudden, when they saw that it could be profitable for them, the people who own these record companies, who are the Jewish people, came in and said, "We're about to do something different now. We're about to fill these prisons with the so-called black man." Why? Was it because it was the color of your skin? Was it because they just don't like you? Or is it because they hate that blood that's in you? We've been talking about these for the last weeks. That you were chosen, but you was unaware of it in week 4 and 5. And all this time, we thought that it was about us just being black. But it was because we were the tribe of Judah, the nation of Israel. And they had to do whatever they could do to take over the minds of the people. Because they knew this awakening that is coming right now would be coming. And they destroyed a whole generation of our people. Through crack, through prisons, through gangs, all celebrated by rap music. It was a weapon used to destroy us. And how, knowing this, can you continue to listen to this mess? How, knowing this, can you continue to pump this stuff into your kids' heads? Read that last line there when it says, we all protested.
We all protested, and he walked back into the house. I remember word for word the last thing he said. It's out of my hands now. Remember, you signed an agreement. He then closed the door behind him. The men rushed over to our cars and actually watched until we drove off.
Now, that's all we're going to read from there. The thing that's in your box, you can go check it out, do your full research of it. But we had to put this out here so you can understand why rap music is talking about what it's talking about, why they're saying what they're saying, and why have there been an influx from the 1990s all the way up until now of our people being in prison. And you guys out there who are honoring and always repping your boy Michael Jordan, he is also an investor in private prisons. Look it up. They came out in the 90s, dropped this crack on us in the 80s, passed these laws with the Clintons. Then they went on there and started rapping about they selling crack, sell crack, sell crack, sell crack. Every music, sell crack, sell crack, sell crack. Fornicate, fornicate, fornicate. Sell crack, sell crack. Do drugs, do drugs, do drugs. Get drunk, get drunk. That's the gist of every rap song for the last 40 years. It was a weapon to destroy us. Now, let's go back to the Bible. John 10:10.
The thief cometh not, but for to steal and to kill and destroy. I am come that they might have life, and they might have it more abundantly.
That's the only reason that he came. Now, let's break this down for a second. We said that the first thing, what was the first thing he said he came to do?
The thief cometh not, but for to steal, to kill, and to destroy.
Okay, so let's deal with steal. Let's deal with steal. Let's deal with kill first. What he wants to do is he wants to kill you by taking your identity. Go to Jeremiah 1. Do you understand that you can kill a person without even putting your hands on them? You realize that? You can kill a person without even touching them. All you got to do is give them a new identity, give them a false sense of who they are, make them live out that person, and the real person will never exist. This is why in 2 Corinthians 5:17 it said, those who are in Christ are new creatures. Old things pass away, behold, all things become new. And so what happens is, when they use rap music and they use these movies to give us an identity and give us a vision of who we are and how we're supposed to live, who the Most High called us to be, never came forth. It never came happen. It never manifested because we were being somebody that we were never supposed to be. So look at here in Jeremiah 1. It's right after Isaiah. Okay. Jeremiah 1, and look at verse 5 there.
Before I formed thee in thy belly, I knew thee, and before thee came forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee.
Now look at that right there. The Most High is saying right here that before I formed you in the mother's womb. Now that's very key, because we are so adapt to the whole thing of that, you know, you're not alive. They try to say that the baby's not alive until the baby comes through the mother after the 9 months. But the Most High is saying that before I formed you in the mother's womb. So that's telling us right here that, number one, that we come from somewhere before we got to the mother's womb. Why do you think that it's been pushed over and over and over, abortion in our community? Because they want to kill off Israel. And they want to make it seem as if that the baby ain't real until the baby is born. But the Most High is saying that before I formed you in the mother's womb, I knew you. So he already had told us who we were supposed to be. But when you're born in the world and the enemy gives you a new identity, he gives you a new heritage, he gives you a new vision, instead of becoming what the Most High told us that we're supposed to be, he's able to kill us by making us be pimp, drug dealers, and hustlers. Today's lesson, mind of a slave, heart of a king. Now let's go back to John 10. I just want to give these precepts. And the second thing he came to do what was? To steal. Read that again for him.
The thief cometh not but to steal.
Okay. Now, he cometh but to steal. Now, let's go to Ephesians 1. We want to give you these precepts so that you can have these things and you can understand what the enemy is trying to take away from you. He's trying to kill you by taking your true identity. Now he's trying to steal from you by taking your inheritance. See, the world teaches you that you're only going to have what you work for. But the Most High saying, you're going to learn here today, that the Most High laid up an inheritance before we ever came. This is how he gets you by killing you and taking your identity, because if you know who your identity is, then you'll be aware that you have an inheritance. That's how it works. Takes your identity, kills you off, then you raise your children and your family outside of the will of God. So you don't know who you are, your wife don't know who she is, your children don't know who they are. Therefore, your inheritance will never be obtained. And you're about to see here now in your inheritance, what your inheritance entitles. And this is for you, Teasy. I know how much you love the book of Ephesians. Book of Ephesians, first chapter, look at verse 3.
Blessed be the God and the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who has blessed us with all spiritual blessings in heavenly places.
Listen to that. Christ has already blessed us with all spiritual blessings in heavenly places. This is not something that you're going to have to obtain. This is something that you already have. Verse 4.
According as he has chosen us in him before the foundation of the world.
Before the foundation of the world. This means that you were chosen before there was ever such thing as people. Before there was ever such thing as an earth. Before there was ever such thing as a slave. Before there was ever such thing as a nation of America. You were already chosen before the foundation of the world. Everybody just listening to me right now, he set up this date for you to hear this word today. Before there was ever a me. Before there was ever such thing as a Facebook Live. Before there was ever such thing as a Facebook. Ever such thing as anything. The Most High chose you to be listening to this word here today. Before the foundation of the world. Do you understand how real that is? But when you don't know who you are, you won't walk in these things. And that's what the enemy came, to steal, kill, and to destroy. Now we're working with steal right now. Verse 4.
According he has chosen us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and without blame before him in love.
Verse 5.
Having predestined us unto the adoption of children by Jesus Christ to himself, according to the good pleasure of his will.
Having predestined us. That means he had already made it be a part of our destiny to be adopted back out of the world. Because when the enemy came in Genesis 4 and seduced them to eat of the forbidden fruit, the enemy became the prince of this world. We were all born to be sinners. We were all born in a sinful world, in a sinful state. But Christ came with his blood and adopted us and made us back into be sons of the Most High God. Isn't that a wonderful thing that you were predestined to do this? And we're so focused on what we see around us and how everything looks and not even realizing that Christ had you on his mind before there was ever such thing as your mom and daddy. That gets me excited right there. Verse 6.
To the praise of the glory of his grace, wherein he has made us accepted in the beloved.
Verse 7.
In whom we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins according to the riches of his grace.
So the redemption came through his blood. Not because you were sorry, not because you felt bad, not because you felt guilty. The redemption came through his blood. And that blood came by how?
Wherein he had abounded towards us in all wisdom and prudence, having made us known unto the mystery of his will, according to his good pleasure, which he had purposed in himself.
Listen to that. See, when people say that God is a mysterious God, that's only to the world, not to us. He our Father. He ain't no mystery to us, right? I mean, just think about it. The world may not know your Father, right? It might be a mystery to him, but you know him in and out. You know what he's gonna say. You know what he's gonna do. You know what he thinks, because you spent your time with him. The same way with us. When it comes to the Most High, he's our Father. He's God to the world, but to us, he's our Father. He made known to us the mystery of his will. He already let us understand. And you say, well, I don't really know this. That's why you're here today listening. Finding out his will for your life. If that was an accident you came across this video, no. The Holy Spirit drawed you to this today so that you can understand not only that you're not a slave, but also that you are a king. And you were predestined before you ever made a mistake. Romans 5 and 6 says that when we were yet sinners, Christ died for the ungodly. He knew you was going to do everything that you did. And he still chose to die for you. That's how much he loves you. Verse 10.
That in the pre-dispensation of the fullness of times he may gather together in one all things in Christ, both which are in heaven and which are on earth, even in him.
Verse 11.
In whom also we have obtained the inheritance, being predestined according to the purpose of him who worketh all things after the counsel of his own will.
That's it right there. That's it. Read that for him again, though. In him we have obtained what?
In whom we also have obtained an inheritance, being predestined according to the purpose of him who worketh all things after the counsel of his own will.
Of his own will. And it was his own will for you to have a purpose and a destiny on your life. And in order for you to carry out that purpose and that destiny, he has laid up an inheritance for you. And that's what the devil is trying to steal from you by telling you to go out and sell drugs. He's going to tell you to go out and work for it. He's telling you to go out and do all these things when the Most High said, no, come to me, find out what your purpose is, and everything you need will be released. The reason why people are struggling the way they are is because they don't know their purpose. Romans 8:28 says that all things will come together for them who love God and are called according to his purpose. So if you don't love God, and John 14:15 said, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. So that means if you're not keeping his commandments, you're not following his law, and you're not walking in your purpose, don't expect for things to work out. Okay? Now, last part of that was to destroy. Go to Matthew 10. The devil paints a picture that his way is the way to live. That his way is the only way to money. That's what he got us thinking. That the only way you're going to get money if you do my way. The only way you're going to be something is you got to do what I say. The Most High, he try to make us think that the Most High stuff is outdated. Like, that's old. That's why you have all these TV shows called Modern Family and all this stuff like that. Modern. You got this, the New Age religion. They just trying to say the Most High played out. He outdated. That's the ways of the old. Listen. Let me get you to understand something. Yeah? I can't be played out. Because I am Alpha and Omega. I am the beginning and the end. I am the first and I am the last. When heaven and earth pass away, I'm still going to be here, says the Most High. So there ain't no outdated. But that's what the enemy is trying to get us to believe. So by doing that, you adopt a lifestyle so that you can be cool, but you don't realize that all that cool stuff you're doing is making your life become frozen. And you can't accomplish anything. Let me tell you something about this YOLO lifestyle. When people talk about this YOLO, you only live once. You know, that's true for those in the world. They only live once. Because those who are outside of Christ, when you stand before the Most High, you're going to be cast in the pits of hell. So you're right. If you're out there living outside of the will of God, you outside living outside the Bible, you outside living outside of these things, yeah, you will only live once. But for those in the kingdom, we live forever. So, You might want to walk away from this YOLO stuff because this YOLO is a lie. And you notice who the ones who are screaming is YOLO. And it's always people who don't know who Christ is. Because people who know who Christ is know we live forever. So you may only live once, but you're going to die twice. You're going to die when you leave this earth, and the second death when you go to the great white throne of judgment. So, what would you rather do? Die twice and live once? Leave this earth realm and live forever. What you gonna choose?
Live forever. I'm
gonna live forever. We are anti-YOLO. No to the YOLO. Matthew 10. So what is happening is, as we get back serious here, he's trying to destroy us by getting us to live a lifestyle that will kill ourselves. What he's doing is, all the things the enemy is doing right now is making sin more accessible. Why do you think all this stuff with homosexuality is being promoted? See, once before, people lived in the closet because they knew it was wrong. Now, hey, do whatever. It's all good. The Most High loves everybody. You had, once upon a time, a man would be ashamed of being known for not having a job, or would be ashamed to be known not taking care of his kids, would be ashamed to be known to have never accomplished anything in life. Now, hey, what? What does it matter? Some woman still gonna take me in. And because our women are being so lonely and so desperate and so hopeless, they're accepting things that once upon a time they wouldn't accept. And now, because of social media, you see this girl over here doing it, you see this girl over here doing it, you see this girl over there doing it, you're like, well, hey. But just because a lot of people are doing it, that don't make it right. And so now, you got people walking in fear of what's going to happen to them if they don't do what the Most High says. And so now, you have the people in this country, so-called black men, the so-called African-American man, fearing what the devil is going to do to them, fearing about going to prison and be killed by police, so they walking in fear. Fearing that somebody's going to take them out, fearing they're going to get kicked out of the church if they walk by the truth. Let's look at what Christ said here in Matthew 10:28. Let's read verse 28 for him.
And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul.
So he said, don't worry about them that can kill your body, but they can't touch your soul. But he said, worry about who?
But rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell.
That's what you need to be worried about. You worried about what people can do to you, you'd rather be worried about what the Most High say he's going to do to you if you ain't lined up with his will. Verse 32.
Whosoever therefore shall confess me before men, him will I confess also before my Father which is in heaven.
So Christ is saying here that if you promote him before men, if you walk in light and salt before men, if you do what thus says the Lord before all these people, and you let it be known, you understand, you Romans 1:16, that you understand of the gospel, that you don't take days off, that you don't just rep Christ when you're in church, but when you're out here in the world, you're promoting everything else. He said, but if you confess me amongst men, he's going to do what?
I will confess also before my Father which is in heaven.
Now, you want Christ speaking on your behalf, let me tell you that. But he said, what though in verse 33?
But whosoever shall deny me before men, him I will also deny before my Father which is in heaven.
And I'm telling you right now, listen, just when you having a conversation with some church folks, that ain't the time to be saying, yeah, I know Jesus. The time when you say you know who Christ is every day, all day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And he said, if you deny me before men, you act like you don't know me before men, I'm going to do what?
Him will I also deny before my Father which is in heaven.